Hi, good evening, everyone. I'll start with a quote today. Don't find customers for your product, find products for your customers, said by Seth Godin. Hello, everyone. My name is Kritika Saran from Grow Junction, and today we have a special guest with us as a mentor, Yashaswi Prateek. Yashaswi, could you kindly give a brief about yourself to the audience?
Hello everyone. Actually, Kritika, I like the quote there. Says, don't find customers to your problems, but find the products for your customers, right?
Yeah,
So it's important to understand what is the problem that you're trying to solve for a user. And unless you don't solve that problem, uh, you don't relieve him of his pain. And if you
exactly.
don't relieve him of his pain, he's not satisfied and he won't use your product. So identifying the problem and then finding a solution to it will pull your customers to your product and not the other way around where you have to push your product.
Exactly.
So, yeah, anyways, I am Yashaswi Prateek. Hello, everyone. And I did my aerospace engineering from IAST, Trivandrum. Was that I worked with ISRO for about 8 months as a satellite integration engineer and a scientist. Uh, Post that, I cleared my MBA to join FMS Delhi. Uh, and went to FMS Delhi, and where I had an option and an opportunity to intern with Britannia and as a sales intern. In my finals, I did get a product management job with Times Internet, and I worked there for about 2 years. Post which I worked with Bleebly.com, and it's an Indonesian e-commerce company. I worked on the app side for about 2 years, 2.5 years actually, and now currently I'm placed with Paytm, and I look into agent products in Paytm. So that's a brief about myself. And if you want to know personally, I'm more into sports, and cricket is my favorite game. I play every Sunday to keep myself fit. So yeah, that's about me.
That's amazing that you're keeping yourself fit as well. It's actually quite crucial in this COVID times. Even I started recently hitting the gym. So yeah.
Irrespective of whether it's COVID or not, you have to keep yourself fit,
Yeah, agreed.
healthy actually.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yashasvi, now that you're working as a senior product manager at Paytm, and as you mentioned, you worked as a PM in Bleebly, Times Internet, and you were an ISRO scientist. So, how did you cover that journey, and how did you know that PM was the role that exactly was best suited for you?
Um, well, to be honest, it was not my first choice. um, Again, I started as a scientist, right? I knew that again personally, I didn't I knew that I was not fit to be a scientist. Then and but I was more fit towards something which is more analytical, which is more business oriented, and hence I had decided to do an MBA. And then of course the rest of the journey continues. But um, even when in college, as I was saying earlier, that I interned with Britannia for a sales role, and then in finals I somehow got a cracked a product manager job. I think my model has always been try out, test out, and then say that you fit or not. Um, at least as a sales intern, traveling in sun around behind the sales guy for about 8 hours a day, um, probably was something that I didn't enjoy much, because I was looking earlier. My background was a bit different, so that's something that I did not enjoy much. So as it was a conscious decision to not give out sales interviews. And throughout the college, I had done a lot of live projects, exploring finance as an opportunity, and even other fields throughout the 2 years that I spent in FMS Delhi. I'd explored multiple opportunities that have come our way. And then actually, even in finals, I was preparing for consulting. And product management was something that fell into my lap be fair. And at that stage, it was something that I was more like, okay, let me give it a shot. Worst case scenario is I'll come back and find another job.
Yeah.
But I ended up liking the job so much that I've spent 6 years in it now.
Wow, that's a great journey, and it's a good way to take risks actually. Um, you know, it's
So
quite
in product
inspiring.
management, there is something called hypothesis. You validate that hypothesis. Hello. Yeah, you validate that hypothesis, right? Um, for you to validate that hypothesis, you have to actually do the experiment. And in my case, I was the experiment, and having to choose between a left field of work was the choice.
So your
So yeah,
conclusion was that it suited you and you went for it, not the other way around.
I'm stuck with it now.
So, Yashasvi, what was your approach to crack the interviews, and what kind of approach can the audience can follow?
So and I'm assuming that your audience is both experienced as well as freshers.
Yeah.
Again, when it comes to experienced, a lot of other skill set get comes into picture, and which something that you get evaluated on. There are a lot of team skills, soft skills that get sort of what they get tested on throughout your journey or during the interview. But there are some core skills that are common for both individuals who are freshers
Yeah.
as well as someone who is experienced. And for you to crack that interview, I think there are couple of things that have not changed, at least in the past 6 years that I've been as a product manager. Is that one piece is that approach is more important than the solution itself. So we have to find out what the actual problem is as compared to what could be the most glorified solution. As long so today, if I have to take an interview, or if I have to give an interview, the interviewer who's sitting on the other side is interested in whether he can actually find the problem. We can solutionize it, it's fine. There are different constraints for a solution, there are multiple solutions for the same problem, but identifying the problem is the most difficult part, right? So again, that's where I say that approach is more important than the solution itself.
So,
Something and second would be that you had a question.
no, please continue.
Okay, sure. So the second would be that you have to practice the case studies. That's the only way you can get some structure into your answer, the way you approach a particular problem, and the only way to get to it is by practice. And practice not just with yourself and the computer sitting in front of you, but practice with your peers, so that it looks more like an interaction which you would have in an interview. So that those are the two things that I would say would actually crack your interview.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Like, it's actually crucial to understand that interview is actually about engagement and your confidence as well.
Yep.
So taking the approach method is brilliant again. So interaction is very important, engagement is very important, and I think that's what we have been taught from like quite some time now. So thanks for actually highlighting that. That was really great. Thanks a lot. So my next question would be, since you said that it was a risk, so you might have faced a lot of challenges, right, and rejections as well, since they're part of your life. More specifically, my question is, how did you keep yourself motivated throughout the journey, and especially when you started?
I talk the separate. I think for every stage stage of your life, you have certain set of rejections, right? And here I think we're talking about interview rejections is something that I would want to focus on, because otherwise the concept as a rejection is so varied, right? So I'll just tell you a story, and I think that will probably be relatable to for someone, but may not be for many people.
So, Yashasvi, you were talking with the story. Could you please continue with that?
Yeah, yeah. So in my first year of FMS, we were every company, of course, there would be placements, right? And I was entering into the GDs, group discussions, and I think I'd given about 25 GDs on day one, on the first day, and cleared none of them. Right, like outrightly rejected in every interview that every group discussion that I've been in. That's when and there's a whole backstory of how we have practiced, and of course the training and all of it happens. That evening, I was like, after all of these placement calls, I think at about 10 or 12 in the night, we were all going back to our places, and I ended up in my friend's place, where a lot of my friends who were very good debaters, I took help from them to sort of train me in getting into a conversation and helping me get out of this conversation also, into a GD, right? And we trained till 4 in the morning. I think they'd all been placed by then. They were very happy to help me out. Um and in the next day, actually, I did crack all of my GDs. But there are two things to realize in this whole story. Is first of all, to identify that the practice and the effort that you put in was not sufficient enough for the standard that is out there,
Yeah.
right? Second is, there's no harm in asking for help, right? And the third is practicing towards your goal, or that benchmark that you was set out. So yeah, rejections are part and parcel of your life. Each and every it starts with GD. In this case, it could be a simple proposal for you. It could be a business use case, business interviews, or any other matter. For entrepreneurs, it could be a rejection by some person who is not willing to join, but rejections by anyone for that matter, right? They're part and parcel of every one's life, and could happen on a daily basis. But it's more about how you have to get out of it. You have to make a conscious effort to get out of it.
Exactly. Also, the point that you mentioned, that it's no harm in asking for help. That's also really a good point, a good pick for this podcast, because getting help is not belittling ourselves, but it is an opportunity to grow, an opportunity to
Yeah,
learn what others have and what we don't. So
correct.
we often abstain ourselves from actually taking help from somebody else, because we think that, oh, what they would think about us or something like that. But however, that's an amazing point, and I think we should more step out and ask for help if we don't know something, because that is one thing that we are hesitating in a lot.
I
So
don't think it comes naturally to us.
yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah,
We think that we'll do everything. However, it's not possible for a person to perfect in every skill. So yeah, taking help from other resources and your peers and your colleagues is a great way to move ahead. So that's extremely important. Thanks
yeah,
for highlighting that as well. So
yeah.
my next question would be, how would you recommend others kickstart their career who are not from tech background? Since you're not from tech background, so how would you recommend others?
I think this question is more specific to a tech product manager who is working in the technology world, right? Um, for others, it may be different, but from a technology point of view, this question is a very valid question, and that's something that comes to a person's mind as soon as you see the product, as even the title is product manager, right? So that's the first thing that comes to your mind. Even I had that, honestly. Um, and I've understood that technology is set of logics, right? And all you need to do is find the right set of questions to guide you and make you understand what those set of logics are, right? You can frame the same questions, not actually. You can frame the same answers that the other person has given in your mind in a way that you are able to understand,
Yeah.
right? So you ask the questions, you actually, to the extent of bothering the other person, who is your probably your technology partner, you will have to ask a lot of questions to help you understand those logics, and you will have to frame an answer for yourself, um, a, a framework of sorts that will work for you. There's no other aspect. Training and all would help, but these things about what is happening in a company, they're very specific to that company. But what you have to understand is you have to talk in the person's language. If you are talking with a technology person, you have to talk in his language, and that is where you have to put in an additional effort to learn whatever he understands and communicate in his language. For that, you need to ask a lot of questions. You need to get that clarity.
Yeah. So are these questions like to oneself or to anyone else? They can be
Now, of
addressed to.
course, to the person who is on the other side of the table.
Yeah.
If you ask these questions to yourself, you will never get the answers for it because you don't know the answers for it, right?
Exactly.
You have to ask these questions to your technology partner who has more to offer, right?
Again, do not hesitate in asking for help
No, of
and
course
learning.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, approaching towards the end, um, I'd want you to tell our audience few tricks and tips um, regarding this PM, for the role of PM. And is there any other kind of books that you would recommend or something like that? Anything?
Yeah. So, when it comes to PM interviews, right, I think a couple of books I would recommend. One is Decode and Conquer. I think it's a good start to start off with that book for interview prep questions.
Yeah.
They do give us a perspective of how to approach a product management question. May not be, I mean, like it definitely gives you a structure and a direction. After that, it is up to you to take it to the next step. Second book that I would recommend is Hooked. It is about how to build habit forming products, right? And it's a good read, even if you're trying to be a product manager, or if you're not trying to be a product manager also, it's a very good read. It is talking about, or what it delivers to you is that what product managers are trying to achieve as part of their career path. uh, it's sort of their objective to build career habit forming products, and it gives you an insight into what those are and how do you approach them. I think these are the two books. These are small books actually to get started off, which are good reads, which are easy on the mind. So you can start off with these books, but I think it's apart from this, you should do a lot of practice with your peers majorly. That'll drive you to solve these problems.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you. And anything else from your side? Any comments? Anything that you want to say? Just let your heart out. Coffee with Kritika.
It was a good conversation today. I had enjoyed myself a bit.
Thank you for joining in. And I personally had a great time, and I hope our viewers also will have a great time listening to you. Thank you so much, Yashasvi, for joining us. And it was incredible to have you here.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Ritika. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much.
All the best. Bye bye.